Hello, everyone, and welcome along to a new week here on Betting Weekly WTA show with myself, Nigel Seeley, and our senior WTA handicapper. It is Rory Jiwani. I like the fact the senior. You're only 80, but you're the only
one.
WTA only one we've got. But I like to call it you the senior. This is the podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. Rory, it's a big week. We've done with the hard court last week in Miami. We move on to a new surface. The countdown now to the French Open starts with the clay court service. The European clay court coming in. We're starting this week, although in South America and across in America. But the clay court action is beginning to go take shape, and the tennis season now getting into the business end, isn't it? Really now.
It certainly is. I mean, we have to speak a little bit about Miami. I mean, what a crazy tournament. I mean, obviously we had a real shock at the start with the news of Aryna Sabalenka's partner, ex-partner. And then, we all thought she'd pull out. She didn't. She played. She came through her opener and then lost in pretty bad-tempered fashion to Lena Kalinina. I'm not sure we can read too much into that as far as the rest of the year is concerned. Obviously, a very emotional time for her. Iga Swiatek didn't complete the Sunshine Double. She lost to Ekaterina Alexandrova, who had a great week. And then, of course, Danielle Collins. What an incredible performance. Her last season on the tour. Served incredibly well. I mean, conditions were very quick in Miami. They started not so quick, but they got quicker as the week went on. By sort of last weekend onwards, the last 7 days of it, quickest courts of the year. Jelena Rybakina reached the final, came through a couple of epic encounters, not least one against Victoria Azarenka in the semi-finals, where she got bageled in the second set. She made the final, but couldn't deal with Collins in the final. We talked about it in the preview. I went for Sabalenka from the big four and then chucked a few darts at it. Actually, when the news came through about Sabalenka, and I thought she was going to pull out, I stuck a couple of quid on Azarenka, and she played exceptionally well, but just couldn't get past Rybakina in the semis. But now, as you say, we're moving on to the clay. Charleston's a bit of a funny one because it's on the green clay. It's one of the traditional tournaments. Back in the day, it was a Family Circle Cup, and all the top players used to be there. None of the top four, none of the big four are in Charleston, but the green clay plays a bit quicker than normal. It's not a really slow red clay surface. Actually, as far as the statistics go, it's got slightly higher percentage service holds than both last year's US and Australian Opens. And there's something for all sorts of players. Big servers traditionally do well. So yes, we're starting with the clay courts, but Charleston isn't like most of the clay courts the players will encounter.
If you look at the previous winners, that backs it up as well. Ons Jabeur won it last year. We've had Bencic win in 2022. 2021, Kudermetova. 2019, Madison Keys. You wouldn't expect her to be performing well on a clay court. Kiki Bertens won in 2018 at Kasatkina in 2017. The draw has been made. The odds are out with Bet Rivers. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. But before we go break down, let's give you the draw. Jess Pegula is the number one seed. She's in the top half of the draw. Very disappointing. I watched her live against Alexandrova. For her set, she was brilliant, and then she just done what Jess Pegula does. I can't trust her in big tournaments when the pressure's on. And going into the tournament favourite, I think the pressure's on her. She's the number one seed. She's in the top half of the draw with Yastramenska, Azarenka, Alexandrova, Kasatkina, Kalinina, Navarro, and Madison Keys. They make up the top half of the draw. The bottom half of the draw is made up by Beatrice Haddad-Maia, Kudermetova, Azarenka, Zachary, Svitolina, Mertens, Fernandez, and Jabeur. So you would probably say that the bottom half slightly easier than the top half, I would have thought. Ons Jabeur is the number two seed here, but on her current form, she's not at all playing well. Let's have a look at the odds. Jess Pegula, as I said, is the tournament favourite. She's plus 450. Zachary is plus 750. Then we have Jabeur at 9, Navarro 12, Haddad-Maia 14, Svitolina 14, Azarenka 14, Kasatkina 18, Alexandrova 18, which is semi-finals in Miami, Wozniacki 20, Kudermetova 22, and Kasatkina a former winner here. It's a big price for me, 25-1, number 4 seed. I think the bottom half is definitely the place you want to be if you're looking for a wager. Surely the top half is a little bit more difficult, but there are some prices there that interest me in that top half.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bottom half is the way to go. I mean, the top half, as you say, Pegula, Alexandrova, who had that good run in Miami, Kasatkina, who's got a great record at Charleston. Got it written down here somewhere, but I don't think she's always made it to the quarterfinals at least. Quarterfinals on debut in 2016. She won when she was unseeded in 2017, quarterfinals in 2018, and reached the semis last year. Madison Keys, former winner, former finalist, showed a bit of form in Miami before going out to Rybakina. She was
really poor against Rybakina. She was really poor against Rybakina.
Well, it's hard against Rybakina when she's serving so well. It was 2 close sets. And Navarro, this is Navarro's tournament. Literally, this is her tournament. Her father owns it. Her father runs Credit One Bank, who are the sponsors, and he owns the company that is in charge of the tournament. She had a wild card last year and lost to Madison Keys in the first round. They could meet in the quarterfinals this year. And she also won an ITF 100 event late last year in Charleston. I think she won it without dropping a set. She was very, very impressive. So, yeah, that top half looks very, very difficult. And the bottom, I mean, Jabeur, reigning champion, but dreadful form. I mean, she was beaten by Elena Avanasayan in Miami. Beatrice Haddad-Maia, another player out of form. Elena Svitolina and Leylah Fernandez are both in there, and they're players I'm avoiding at present. I was disappointed by Svitolina, Indian Wells. Fernandez, she looked brilliant at times. She went out to Jessica Pegula in a match that she had enough chances to win, but just couldn't win the big points. She blows so hot and cold. Maria Sakkari is the standout in the bottom half. She's been in fantastic form, a rejuvenated player since linking up with David Witt, Pegula's former coach. Obviously, she made the final at Indian Wells, the quarterfinals in Miami, losing an epic to Rybakina there. She hasn't played many times in Charleston in the past, which can be a bit of a horses for courses, tournament. I think she's only played here twice. And she lost to Swiatek. Obviously, she lost to Swiatek and Rybakina in the last 2 tournaments. On debut in 2017, she lost in 3 sets to eventual runner-up Yelena Ostapenko. And in 2019, she beat Kiki Bertens, who was the defending champion, and then went out to Caroline Wozniacki in the quarters, and Wozniacki went on to reach the final. She's certainly got the game for this surface. As I say, she's got a big serve. She's got big ground strokes. She's also a good player on clay. She reached the semi-finals of the French in 2021. And I think she's got a great chance of making the final, whereas the top half, as I say, with all those names in there, lots of informed players, very hard to pick one in the top half.
So we are going for just the one pick, or we're going to go for one in the top half?
I'm just going to go for Sakkari in the bottom half. I'm going to go for 2 points each way on Sakkari at, was it plus 750? Yeah. I think it's a fair enough price, and you only have to look at the betting. I think 9 out of the top 10. I should say Danielle Collins is in the bottom half as well, but I'd say she's unlikely to play after her exertions.
Well, she's due to play Paula Badosa. I mean, that'll be an interesting match, and then the winner of that will play Ons Jabeur. So very, very interesting to see what happens in those matches.
I'd say I'd be surprised if Collins turns up here. We know she's struggled with fitness and health in the past, and such a long run and a really big win for her in Miami. I find it hard to believe she'd turn up here. What is she, plus 1,400 to win this? But I think Svitolina is net. I think you're looking at about 8 of the top 10 in the betting are in the top half, and that tells you the bottom half is where you want to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping that she does turn up, because I'd trade her. I'd back Badosa.
Oh, absolutely.
Badosa showed a little bit of signs to me at Miami that she was coming back to some kind of form. No, it wasn't brilliant, but she came some kind of form. She played pretty well against Sabalenka. She won that first round match as well. I can't remember if she played because I faded her in the first round, but she won. But yeah, I would love to get with Badosa against Collins there. So Zachary's currently plus 750. If you were to go for someone in the top half as a lean, where do you think? I mean, I like Kasatkina at 25-1.
Yeah.
And I was very interested what you had to say there about Navarro at 12. I'm sure she's going to be very, very popular given the season that she's had as well.
Yeah, I mean, she's from there. She's born in Charleston. She's local, as I say. Her dad owns the tournament. She will have plenty of support. I mean, obviously, she won the ITF tournament late last year. This is a much higher standard of field. She has played well this season. I think, if anything, I think these conditions might be a little bit quick, because I noted in Indian Wells when she beat Arina Sabalenka that her, and I've noted before, her backhand isn't the strongest. She has got great movement, but against a really big hitter, I think she's vulnerable. And against someone like Sabalenka on a quicker surface, and Charleston is a quick surface, despite it being on clay, as mentioned. As far as weather conditions go, it's quite warm at the start of the week, and then it cools down a fair bit from Thursday onwards. So it may not be as quick as it has been in the past. She's got a chance. She obviously likes it here. She likes the surface, but it's such a tough top half. Keys in the quarterfinal would be a difficult matchup for her, I think, because Keys is a big hitter, is someone who could hit through her. I think Kasatkina, I have to agree with you on Kasatkina as being a lively one, certainly a lean. I mean, I got it down to a short list of Navarro, Keys, and Kasatkina in the top half. And at the prices, Kasatkina would represent some value. But as I say, it looks really tough. And Wozniacki's in there as well. She's a former finalist. Alexandrova, she reached the quarters last year, the semis the year before. So there are a lot of dangers in that top half.
And she reached the semi-final. Miami as well. Alexandrova played exceptionally well, beat Jess Pegula, and she is quoted at 18-1, where Jessica Pegula is 450, and
it's four times the price.
And the two of them look like they're going to meet if they could potentially meet in the quarterfinals. So, yeah, I mean, I think Pegula's too short in the market there. I agree. Kasatkina, I think Zachary's the takeout in the bottom half and the each way. Remember, Bet Rivers offering a half the odds 1-2 for each way. So you get your final, you get half the odds of the 750, so plus 375 if you make the final there. So two bets will place. One bet will place on the place market to make the final. The other one will be on the winner as well. So Zachary is a strong pick for Rory. 2 points each way at 750. And it's worth mentioning that is a WTA 500 event. That is the big event this week on the women's tour. The Charleston Open, Credit One, or the Navarro Charleston Open, whichever way you want to look at it. The other tournament this week is over in Bogota in Colombia. It's a 250 event, so it's not strong. The field isn't as strong here, and this is a complete minefield. If you want to have a look at this, so you solve this puzzle, you're a very, very, very well to solve this one, because this anybody could win this. Before we go on to the draw and look at previous winners and trends, what's the conditions like going to be in Bogota? I can imagine it being very hot, very humid, and probably very slow. Very different clay from in South America than it is over in Charleston.
Well, it's one of the slowest tournaments. The courts are some of the slowest. Temperature-wise, it's not especially warm, actually. 70 Fahrenheit pretty much all week. So that's 21 Celsius for our European types. It's funny because I remember we looked at this tournament last year, and because I had picked Tatiana Maria the year before to win it, and I didn't fancy her chances last year, and she retained her title. She had a really easy route through to the final last year. She beat Peyton Stearns in 3 sets in the final. Stearns is injured this year. She was in the draw, but had to pull out last week due to injury. Maria is the number 2 seed. Marie Bauskova, a Czech player, is the top seed. And the top half is full of players who are just out of form at the moment. I mean, Bauskova has barely won a match since reaching the quarterfinals in Auckland at the start of the year. you've got a few players as well who've had some clay court prep. The ones who went out early in Miami had a challenger event in Mexico, in San Luis Potosi, in the last few days. And the final's actually tonight between Nadia Podoroska, the Argentinian, and Britain's Francesca Jones. Now, Jones is really interesting. I'm sure we talked about her last year. She has a genetic condition, which means she has just 3 fingers on each hand. She's missing some toes as well. But she's into the final in San Luis Potosi. And she did really well last year at this time of year in South America. She reached the semis in Bogota last year, going out to Tatiana Maria. But she just seems to really enjoy this time of the year in South America. Jones is in the top half as well, as Bauskova. Podoroska, former Roland Garros semi-finalist, hasn't had a bad season so far, and she's in the bottom half of the draw, which looks, well, it's hard to say which one's the easier here. But looking at Maria's draw, she's got Anna Bondar first, who's a Hungarian player who is at her best on clay. She's had a poor start to the year though. And then Maria in the second round would have either home favourite Emiliana Arango, who's having her best season yet, or Argentina's Julia Riera, who hasn't had the best season so far. I thought she'd go well this season, but she's been a bit disappointing, although she did reach the quarterfinals this week in Mexico. Yeah, it's a tough draw. And there are a lot of players who are out of form. Sara Sorribes Tormo is the second favourite, joint second favourite. She's been in dismal form of late. It's a tricky tournament. It's a very tricky tournament. But the main thing here is that it's slow. It's really slow. One of the slowest clay courts of the season. And what Maria has done so well for the last 2 years is sort of slicing and dicing her opponents to death. She uses that backhand slice. It just stays really low. It grips on this clay because it's so slow. And I've seen plenty of times where she's up against opponents who are obviously trying to hit winners. It's very hard to hit winners when it's so slow. And Maria's been successful 2 years on the road doing that.
Let's look at the draw. Boskova is in the number 1 seed. She's scheduled to play Laura Zygmunt in the quarterfinals. We obviously got Francesca Jones, Rory touched the informed Brit in that section as well. Buxa up against Rakimova. Podoroska up against Sorribes Tormo. Osario, we haven't mentioned her. I mean, I've seen her play out in Miami. I mean, she has an absolute fanatical fan base. I mean, I was very lucky to be in Miami last week to watch the Nicholas Jarry match where he was playing, and the South American support is absolutely something else, and that's a huge advantage for him. So Osario plays Tatiana Maria. I think if they played in the quarterfinals, Maria will have her work cut out against Osario there. None of these players are in form, and I think when you look at it, you've got to go for someone who really likes the slow conditions, who's got some clay court credentials, and these are the outright prices now. Buskova is 450, Sorribes Tormo is plus 750, Tatiana Maria is 750, Osario is 8, Timofeyev is 8, Podoroska is 10, Zygmunt is 12, Bondarenka is 16, Jones is 16, Rakimova is 18, Irani 18, and Buxa is 20. I mean, there are a few people in that draw who really do like it slow. Podoroska will like this really slow at 10-1. I quite like her. I think the top half is probably slightly weaker than the bottom half. So Podoroska is in the bottom half of the draw. I also like Osario at 8, given the fact that she's just going to be, the fan base is wild. I mean, I watched her on the outside court. I think I watched, where did I watch her? I think I watched them in Rome, actually. I think it was in Rome. And there was just pandemonium. It was crazy. People were going wild, and I thought it was an Italian player. And when I went to watch it, it was actually Osario with the Colombians, and I saw her in Miami as well, and exactly the same. They absolutely go crazy for this girl. She's got a big fan base, Osario.
I saw the same in Madrid last year.
Yeah.
She beat Marta Kostyuk in really hot conditions. Kostyuk faded, practically melted in the heat, and Osario was, she had so much support in Madrid as well. And I'm a big fan of her, but she's shown absolutely no form.
Well, no one has. This is the problem. No one in this draw has. And and if you are going to get someone who could just have a wild week and just turn it on his head, this is the kind of tournament that's going to happen. You probably don't need much form coming into it. You're at your home event. Swing the racket and just go for it and have a go. But So, well, I mean, there were my kind of leans there. Rosario quite like them. Podoroska. I mean, I think with South American players, I know Tatiana Maria has won it twice, the German, but I do think the South Americans will have a big advantage here. But enough about me. What do you like, Rory?
Yeah, I'm tempted to agree with you on Podoroska. I was surprised she's double figures. I think, yeah, as I said, there are a lot of out of form players in this tournament, and Podoroska looks to have a decent draw. She's seeded 5. She's at the top of the bottom half of the draw. First up is Laura Pigossi from Brazil. Shouldn't have too many problems there. And then she faces a qualifier, or Irina Bara of Romania. Again, you'd think she'd get through that. Then it starts to get a bit tricky. This section of the draw is interesting because not only have you got Sara Sorribes Tormo, but her first round opponent is Maria Timofeeva. Timofeeva came from absolutely nowhere last year to win in Hamburg in slightly quicker conditions. Sara Irani's in that bit of the draw as well, who, Tatiana Maria will be very glad she's not facing early on, because Irani's head-to-head against Maria is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's practically 6-1, 6-2 every time they play in the Italians' favour. They could meet, I think it would be in the semi-finals. And if it's Maria against Irani in the semi-finals, you can back Irani till the cows come home, because she always beats her. It's just uncanny how easily Irani beats Maria every time. It's just one player she just cannot get to grips.
She won't get to the semi-finals, Irani.
I don't think she'll get to the semi-finals, but if she does, there's a tip. I do like Podoroska for this. I think she's shown form in Mexico, providing that hasn't taken too much out of her.
That is a concern, though, isn't it?
That is the danger.
Someone does have a good tournament in the week before an event like this, you don't want her to burn herself out. If she gets beat in the final tonight, she's into the final?
She is, yeah.
If she gets beat in the final tonight, doesn't go through the ringer, goes through into 3 sets, then that's good prep. But if she wins the tournament and comes through in like 3 sets, that is not ideal preparation ahead of the tournament.
That would be, that would be the risk for her and Francesca Jones, who's in the top half. Outside of that, I mean, Lara Sigerman's interesting. I keep looking at her because she's a funny one. She's got a good record in clay. She's actually had a couple of good wins. I think in Miami, she absolutely stormed through qualifying Miami, which wouldn't be conditions that would suit. If someone's going to come through that top half, maybe Sigerman is the one. I mean, it's the sort of tournament where someone could, even a qualifier could get hot and go deep. Yeah, maybe I'm tempted. What is the price of Sigerman? I don't know.
Well, she's only 12 to 1.
She's only 12, yeah. I would have been hoping for a bit bigger than that. But Podoroska would be my main pick. I'll point each way at $10. Still wondering whether to have a bet on Sigerman. Yeah, probably not big enough for my liking. She's just a bit too inconsistent. That top half is absolutely wide open. I mean, it really is. I mean, Christina Buxer's in there, Jill Niemeyer. Again, someone who'd want conditions a fair bit quicker. Jones is in there. I think you've got 3 Colombian wildcards in there. So, that narrows it down somewhat. 3 Colombian wildcards who probably get absolutely thrashed. And Bauskova, she could find some form after a disappointing season.
But not at 450. Not at 450. No. I mean, I'm Podoroska. I mean, she's a former semi-finalist at the French Open. She's proven player. She's seeded number 5. She's Argentinian. She likes conditions. 10 to 1 is a lovely price. I agree with that. So 1 point each way, Rory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it. So there are 2 picks over in Charleston. A heavy pick for Zachary in the easier bottom half of the draw. 2 points each way with Bet Rivers at plus 750. And over in Bogota, we're going for the in-form Nadia Podoroska, the Argentinian. We don't want her to win in an epic battle tonight. We want her to probably win quite easy. 6-love, 6-2. That'll do nicely. Or even lose quite easy and just keep herself nice and fresh for the tournament in Bogota. Podoroska is our pick at 10 to 1. Remember, there's so much action going on now. The tennis season is really hotting up. We've got the clay court action, the build up to the French Open in April. I've just done the rota for April. Some fantastic tennis tournaments coming up here over where you are, more in Madrid. You'll be there for the tournament over there for us for the women's tournament. There's a men's tournament there. I've just recorded a game bet match with Sean Calvert. There's 3 men's tournaments this week. The Champions League soccer is coming to the quarterfinal stage. The Premier League is coming towards a very exciting conclusion, and everything you can follow on Betting Weekly, our studios on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, and our team of handicappers will keep you across all of those sports with the best bets and best analysis. You can download this podcast, Betting Weekly WTA, on your preferred podcast provider. And you can also follow us on our socials, on Instagram and on our Twitter account, which is both the same handle, @becausewewin. I'm jetting off again on Wednesday, heading to Portugal to watch the tournament over in Estoril. I'm only there till Friday, so you'll be able to see anything I have from there, any courtside action, any in-play picks. Lots of in-play picks on our Instagram account, lots of exclusive content on there. The team of handicappers at the venue will be giving in-play picks after each set there. So that's something to look forward to, something exclusive away from the Twitter account on our Instagram. So there it is. The clay court season starts. It's going to roll on now for probably another 8 weeks or so, with a build up to Paris at Roland Garros in just under 2 months now. Is it 2 months? Just over 2 months' time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one. Finally, happy Easter. It's Easter Sunday today. Happy Easter to you all watching this across in the States, wherever you are. Happy Easter to you. Weather warming up in Madrid, Rory?
Do you know what? We had that one glorious week when I last spoke to you, and then it's been chucking it down most of the last week. It's kind of traditional Semana Santa Easter week. The weather's always awful here, apparently. So it's cheering up. It's cheering up. But hopefully, by the time we get the best players in the world coming here for the Madrid Open, hopefully it'll be nice and warm again.
I quite like Semana Santa in the Bogota tournament. I thought she had a good draw, Semana Santa. Anyway, that's been it for the WTA show. We're back next week previewing some more tennis action. Stay across all our channels as well on socials. Have a great weekend, and again, happy Easter. Take care.